Yeah. I always try to get around these days, and I'm like, oh, because I have a hangover from the New Year, and I just had all the Christmas festivities. But Johan always managed to motivate me to go for it. So I think this is like the fifth year we are doing this anniversary broadcast. In the beginning, we still called it the Bitcoin anniversary broadcast, but I'm very glad that since last year we changed the name to Genesis Block anniversary, because in the end, it is the Genesis block that we are celebrating, and what people perceive today to be Bitcoin is just one iteration of what is possible with blockchain. So I'm glad for that small detail. Words matter, words matter. So let's keep it like that. Here he is, Joel.
How's it going, my man? Sorry.
Everybody is having a toilet break, but we are here. It's just that I cannot press any buttons myself, so I'm just a spectator.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Hey,
More than willing to be the toilet break guy.
Yeah.
Here is the this was a short toilet break.
Yeah. It was not the big message; it was the small message.
Oh yeah. Hey, Joel, welcome today on the 3rd of January. You are our second guest. Unfortunately, Vlad is sick. I'm sure you read his tweets. He couldn't make it today, so we had a little bit of a a little break in between. I wrote a blog post, and we filled up the time. But glad that you could make it, my man. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I would say the last quarter has been very busy. And just a lot going on, and
I can't believe
it's been interesting because for a lot of the crypto sector, it's been sort of not a lot of action. For all the headlines, everyone's saying, "Oh, worst bull cycle ever," all this kind of complaints. But I kind of feel like there's a cypherpunk revival going on right now.
Absolutely.
It's not being widely talked about, and I think we're just seeing the beginnings of this, and we'll see hopefully a lot more of it over the next few years. Yeah.
I completely agree with that sentiment. In my blog post, I mentioned the same thing. Bitcoin got delayed a little bit, didn't manage to convince the broader population of its power in a way. And now that, for me, of course, if we just talk within the crypto sphere, last year was the year that the privacy narrative broke out, where fungibility started to matter. But that's in the small world of crypto. Since half October, the rise of silver is rampant, and I think that is going to impact the general lives of the population much more, because you can live without crypto, but try living without silver. Every phone, every car, every electronic device has a little bit of it. Once that starts to have its impact in the real world, people might be more willing to learn about different money systems than they are in the last 10 years. So I completely agree with that sentiment that you just shared with us. And I can only imagine how your year must have been, because it's been quite a wild ride in Dash also. 500% gain and then a 70% drop. Is that something? Is that correct? Something like that?
I'm not sure. I don't really keep up too much with the day-to-day. I do know that it's doing better today than it was at the beginning of last year.
Absolutely, yes.
So for me, that's good. There was, a fun little pop. It was good to be kind of noticed and mentioned that. As soon as we had that, of course, I made sure to do a couple of very strategic budget spends while the budget was high enough.
Yeah,
do some things that will last a long time. So yeah, there's some exciting things coming in the future.
Good, man. Wow. Yeah, I'm very happy for you. When I saw that move of Dash, I'm of course stupid enough to not trade it myself, because I think we are going to the moon and beyond, and $1,000 and blah blah blah. So I didn't really profit too much myself. in you know, how to say, the profit is that it's gonna be that I see that there is more recognition for that train of thought. So that makes me excited for this upcoming year. Yeah, maybe we should talk a little bit about your last year and what is coming up. We already mentioned privacy a little bit, but there is much more. There has been much more development in Dash. I know that you launched that new wallet. When was that? In the end of last year, like September something, August.
Yes.
And now, I understand it a little bit. So let me try to explain it in my own words, and then you can give me the real things, what is going on. If I understand it correctly, the Dash blockchain has implemented a additional layer of data that you can add to a address in such a way that you do not need a centralized party to be the middleman of that data. All that data is stored in the blockchain, is permissionless, usable for everybody. And that means that, for example, Dash doesn't have the issue anymore that you just think you send some money to somebody, but you are not checking the address completely, and then you discover you actually made a typo, or somebody installed some malware on your computer and replaced the entire address somehow, because you don't need that address anymore. If I want to send Dash to Joel, I just write Joel, and it's coming to your wallet. So yeah, that's exciting stuff. And is there more data than just a username? How does it work? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So this is one of those things where we're just starting to see the very first pieces of something much, much bigger. The much, much bigger thing is Dash launched a completely separate blockchain that's very architecturally different, that focuses on data transactions and is run by the same validators, et cetera, that run the main chain. So there's two completely separate networks. One deals with data, and one is the typical old payments network. And so with this data network, first of all, yes, you can register a username, but you could also make connections between identities where I can add you to my friends list, and that's now on the blockchain. So typically what you'd have to do if you had, like, let's say, Unstoppable Domains or ENS or one of those usual username systems is I would have to remember your username and type it in, and then it would resolve to a single address, for example. So not very good for privacy. But then if for some reason I lost my wallet, I had to restore my seed phrase, I would have no idea of whose transactions were to whom. And I wouldn't have, and maybe I'd say, what was that guy's thing again? So then I type in a username that's off by one, and then it's still a scammer, and then you have problems there.
And that's because it used to be all stored locally and not on the blockchain. That data of your friends was only on one computer.
Yes, exactly. And now all that is built into your identity, built into your seed phrase. So you recover with your recovery keys, and then you get everything. You get not just your funds, but you get your transaction history and who you were sending to. You also get all your contacts lists. So it's just like your phone contacts. You don't lose your phone contacts. And there's a new feature that got released a few weeks ago that adds encrypted metadata. So now every time you write something like, donated to Roger Ver Defense Fund, and then under that thing, then that data is now encrypted on the blockchain. So if you lose all your wallet and you get it back again, you see the purpose for every single transaction is all there as well. And this is going to be a very useful feature beyond just that in the future, I think. There's a lot of extra data as we start to use crypto in a much less primitive way that starts to become very necessary. And so for I don't know if I'd say a bad example and a good example, any Lightning Network wallets, everyone knows here we love the Lightning Network. Everyone that's semi-custodial, that's not fully custodial, you have to keep a backup of your channel state. And so you have to have your seed phrase, but you also have to have a constant backup. That if it's an old backup, you can lose some money. You have to keep it constantly backed up. And from my understanding, a new setup with Zcash scaling is going to have a similar thing where you will need a constantly updated backup as well. And then that adds the complexity of, where do I store this? Do I trust the Google Cloud with it or something? Do I, store it locally on my device, but then I lose my device and then I lose my access to my latest transactions? Like, there's a lot of problems. And so I really think that this is my ambition, is to try to get them to start using the Dash network to back up those things, so that then they can just have one recovery that they don't have to worry about again. Just one seed phrase and it will just work, and they don't have to trust a centralized third party.
Mm-hmm. And can I ask, this data chain that is now added next to the monetary chain, is there a limit of data that it can process, just like with the normal monetary chain? For example, Bitcoin has the 1 megabyte per 10 minutes. Is there some limit on that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I would actually have to look into the per file storage limit. It's sort of like an op return limit type thing. There is a limit to how big the files could be right at this moment, because once you have very large file storage, like terabytes and things like that, you start to have to run into some issues that you have to figure out in advance. But as far as the throughput of the network, it's pretty much as much as they could build the network to scale. Right now, blocks are about 1 second. So about 1 second, the block comes out, and you can pretty much make them quite big. And they automatically sort of scale with transactions. And so it's kind of like an adaptive unlimited block size on that. So as far as like data transactions going through, you could conceivably go, hundreds a second, thousands a second eventually, and a few code optimizations and other things hopefully get it much bigger than that. And at the same time, if people are playing a fun little game and just like with CryptoKitties back in the day comes through the network, or some ICO or something like that, then even if there was an issue with that network, you would still be able to send money, no problem, because there's a segregated chain. You can just normally send.
If I now download a Dash wallet, does that mean that I then have 2 data sets in my computer, or how to say it? Like, I have the blockchain for the money and the data chain for all the other data? Is that how it works?
Yes. So it depends on exactly if you're talking about running a full node or something like that. If you run like an SPV wallet, it's just one set of keys that just have both identities, and it's fine. Whereas you would have to run like a full node. If you're trying to run full nodes for like development purposes or something, there are 2 separate blockchains, so you would run both of those.
Okay. But so I can also choose to only run the monetary blockchain.
Yes.
Okay. That's positive. Yeah. That's I think that's a good thing.
And I have to say, something that's funny is when you look at the current, I wouldn't say current, but recent Bitcoin drama about writing data on the blockchain, and now talking about
the V30 update.
Yes, if they had a solution like this on Bitcoin, it wouldn't be an issue, because they could just say, I hate the data stuff, I'm just going to run this chain, and then that's fine.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your what's the name of, how was the title of that blog article? The Caveman Wars. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. All of your posts, Joel, I have an economic background with finance. I'm not so technical. And for a lot of these, I can recommend everybody who's watching this video, watch the videos of Joel, because he really manages to, explain a difficult topic in such terms that, well, at least for me, it works. And you really explain it well. So.
Yes, well, thank you. And I do think the economics background is kind of the same thing. Like, I have an economics background as well, and I think that it's very rare in crypto. I think in crypto, especially if you get to early days crypto, or you get to like Bitcoin maximalists, they love to talk about economics, but they don't understand anything about it.
No, I've noticed that also. The most developers are really economic illiterate. But the problem with economics is that it's like with a painting. Somebody thinks a painting is beautiful, somebody thinks a painting is ugly, and they are both correct because it's their opinion. You cannot say this is beautiful because 1 + 1 = 2. You know, there is no, it is a personal preference of what you like. And so, yeah, that always makes it very difficult to have these kind of discussions with those maximalists.
Yes, however, there are some if you understand, so in ancient times, if you knew anything like how to start a fire, the first person who learned how to start fire was seen as a wizard. It's like he's doing magic. It's like because they don't understand the knowledge. And so some people have said like, oh, I can't believe how accurately you predicted this thing. And I was saying like there was no risk in that prediction. It was obvious that this is if you understand some basic economics, you understand something will turn out this way. For example, I predicted that the Lightning Network would end up being expensive to use instead of cheap. And if you use, for example, the Phoenix wallet today, which, obviously I'd rather people use better payment tools, but if anyone's going to use Lightning, they should probably use something like Phoenix because it has the fewest trust trade-offs. You could spend like 4 cents a transaction, 5 cents a transaction, and if you have to rebalance channels. So it's starting to get expensive just because the capital requirements that you have to basically stake all this money in order to run it. It's just going to cost something. And some other things, of course, is the biggest one is the whole MicroStrategy situation.
Oh, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about that because, let's go in there.
Now, in this case, in this case, micro.
I don't really feel that much of a profit because everyone has been criticizing it since the early days. Not the Bitcoin maximalists, but everyone else has. So it's very obvious that, first of all, there's no business model where there's no revenue, there's no income.
It's just collecting money.
Yes, you take investor money and do something with that investor money. And if the result of what you do, of your reinvestment, is positive, there's money for investors. If it's negative, there isn't. It's a very simple kind of thing. But he has bought Bitcoin at tops, like a lot of tops. So there's not a lot of Bitcoin profits to pass on to investors. So how is that going to keep on working? It said then he starts raising more money, then he starts offering massive yields, and he starts not buying Bitcoin. And you're starting to see that it's becoming kind of like a pyramid scheme. And at this point, you can't where else will the money come from? It's literally the only business model MicroStrategy could have right now. They do have a software business, I understand, but that's kind of going away. The only business model really is trying to buy Bitcoin low and then selling it high, which means two things. One, they have to buy it low, which they have not been doing. And two, they have to sell it at all. And they haven't been doing that either yet. So where's the money coming from? Like, it's not mystery. And what you've seen is a lot of highly technical financial terms have been used, and there's the NAV versus the MNAV and the preferred offering of this. And it's like a shell game moving all over the place where people now get confused. And I have to say, myself, I don't understand every single thing that he's doing necessarily. I do understand the big picture of like, this is clearly not like there's nothing fundamental, but he's confused a lot of people to say, oh, he's so smart. He's doing this financial wizardry. I don't understand it, but I'm just going to buy it because it looks smart. And then they're going to, I would say that the stock drop in price is pretty typical with crypto. It's not typical for traditional companies, but it's, I think people will probably lose more money than they have already, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, for me, the most telling part of Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy is one of his first tweets about Bitcoin, where he states, I don't believe in Bitcoin and all, it's not going to be anything. So if at that moment you didn't get it, then I don't believe after 5 years you will get it. You just found a way how to sell it to somebody else, So
Yes,
I'm personally not. Oh, yeah,
it's a very. I will say, like, I don't think Michael Saylor is stupid. I think he's intelligent. I think he knows what he's doing. But I think, first of all, he's playing a very risky game because of everything he's doing. But also, he does not care about his investors. He's, as far as like who is going to lose money. Is it going to be is it going to be him? Is it going to be Bitcoin? Is it going to be his investors? Of those three, it's the investors. And so he understands that Bitcoin at least is a scarce asset. This is the basic math part of things. Bitcoin is a scarce asset for now. There's a 21 million theoretical limit. And so if he finds something not scarce and pays for the scarce thing, and he keeps the scarce thing, and he gives the thing that's unlimited to other people, profit, right? It's a very simple equation there. And so he just keeps on creating, he mints so many shitcoins. He keeps building shitcoins and selling them to people. And then he buys Bitcoin with the revenue from the shitcoins. And they think they have the Bitcoin somehow, but they don't have any of the Bitcoin. And it's well,
and shitcoin in this
it's
term
working out for him so far, I guess.
Shitcoin in this term is the shares that I think, right? That you,
yes.
Or do you mean the all these? What did he launch now? Is this 11% revenue project that he launched recently?
Yes.
There's a lot of loans also, isn't it? A lot of these, loans that he sells
I understand from it,
a low interest rate.
Well, what I understand from it is not that it's not a loan, but he converts it to shares. But that's maybe I'm not.
I think it's convertible loans, right? That you can convert to shares if the share price is a certain point. He has to pay a very low interest rate, but he also more or less sells dilution when when the share price goes up. So he sells the upside.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. And he has quite a few loans. There are a lot of different terms. Some do have a reasonably high interest rate, but those are very small. Most of these loans, from my understanding, again, I'm not an expert on the subject, seem to have very low or even no interest rates. And then, then they get converted into shares at will, kind of like whenever they'd like to buy the dip, whenever you want to convert the shares. So there's a combination of that. And then the more recent products he's been selling have been the yield products, where that's the most, that's the most sketchy thing, I would say.
Yeah, the most obvious. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as it stands, with the high interest rates, with the high dividend rates they're promising, you need a lot of revenue and money. You need to keep the pyramid going. But if you look at the terms, the terms basically say that the rates are adjustable at will, basically. So as soon as he gets everyone to buy, he can just say, guess what, 2%. And then you're like, oh no, what am I holding? There you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bitcoin is of course still the backbone of crypto economy in some way. Or you can make a statement that USDT is taking over in a way, but we are all a little bit exposed to this micro strategy, because most of our coins are still priced, or the main market is priced in Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin is doing has its effect on the rest. And that is what bothers me a little bit with this with this guy, is that he's making it into a casino, and also the people are not really investing in Bitcoin. They are not going to use Bitcoin. They are using it as an extension to debt currencies, which only makes it more hijacked than it already was, So,
although I would say I have seen some hope this last quarter, because what was notable, of course, some of my favorite coins have been doing well. Obviously, Dash has done well. Zcash has done phenomenally. Bitcoin Cash has been doing really well these last, especially couple of weeks. Decred, Monero, a bunch of like good old school coins. But what's been more interesting has been that they've done well while Bitcoin has not done well. well, like the Solanas, etc. of the world as well have not done well. And so for me, that's like the biggest sign. It's not doing well. It's doing well when the greater market sentiment trading counter to that. Where
and
I
that
guess
is where your that's why you said I feel that the cypherpunk era is making a comeback. That is the sign.
Yes. Yes, I think in market sentiment, like it's really hard to say, oh, this is why thousands of people around the world are putting money into this. You can't know for everyone's motivation. But I would say the reason why Bitcoin specifically has done so much better than most other crypto assets over the last, 5-10 years, whatever it's been, has been because it's viewed as the kind of safest and most reliable option, the least risky option. Because, well, first of all, the knowledge. Most people just don't know about the rest of the space. So there's that asymmetry, and I think that's coming to an end soon. But also, the blockchain has been running since 2009. Yay!
17 years today.
Yes, not bad. It's been running. The fundamental design, like I know people like us criticize a lot of what has happened to it today, but whatever's left over, like it still has a lot of very strong fundamentals that a lot of newer crypto projects have not copied. They have made made mistakes that Bitcoin never made. And so you can clearly see there's something here. It's been reliable over a long period of time, and people have viewed all like the casinos, like the FTXs of the world and stuff, and Terra Luna, all this kind of crazy stuff going on, and they view this one as the safe one. I think that has started to change this cycle, where people are now seeing like so much betting on a strategic reserve in the US, for example. They've seen, of course, the number one poster child being the sailor person, and they are seeing Bitcoin as a risky asset now. It doesn't mean you can't make money off of it, but they're seeing it as more of a risky asset. And so I think that a lot of investors who put a lot of money into Bitcoin because they viewed it as the least risky asset now don't view it as the only risk-free asset. And so now they're saying, what else had those fundamentals that Bitcoin used to have that I can hedge into? Yeah. And so I think that, for example, you view something like Zcash, which is similar to Bitcoin in lots of ways, but has a very high privacy. You see Monero, which has not had its God candle, but it has been going up very steadily over a period of time. You see, obviously, Dash, and even Bitcoin Cash, of course. You see, like Bitcoin Cash, you could say, completely lost the block size war back in the day, as far as like market share, mind share, users, stuff like that. Yeah. So it should be dead. And look at it now, right? The fact that, of course, I know a lot of people in the Bitcoin Cash community, they're actually building a lot of cool things. It's a very deserved victory, but it's also like a sign that people are sort of seeing the direction that Bitcoin went in versus the rest of the space trended in not a safe direction, but in an unsafe, in a gambling direction. And so now they're like, well, these guys aren't gambling as much. Let me hedge into here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good analysis. I like that view. Of course, it's also the higher an asset goes, the more downward risk you get. So I've never understood these maximalists that just can sit on those Bitcoins while all these other altcoins are, I really believe once the market, we are currently making the lows. Maybe the lows have been made last year. Once it goes up, these low prices are only because what I call hyper emission, which is not the same as inflation. But all these coins, just like Bitcoin, they start in the first cycle with 50% emission, then 25 of those. And those new coins, the communities are just too small to be buying them. And even more, once you have a couple of those coins, you want to buy them low. You don't want to go up, And so on top of that, there is no immediate need to hold any of those coins because, well, you have to pay your taxes in good old fiat. Where can you even do something with it, So once people start to spend them, they need to sell it, basically. So all that downward pressure is setting a low now, which I believe once the trend reverses, we will really never see these low Satoshi prices ever again, because it's a new market coming up, and this is part of the cycle. And once a coin manages to break out of the downward trend, the low prices will never come back. And that's why I don't understand how none of these maximalists can see such a event happening, and so
yeah, it's been very interesting to see. And I think, like, you have to understand that this is a new world, a new asset class, that things are going to be very different. You see Bitcoin and everything it's done, and you see also everything it can't do, and you have to see room for other assets in there. You have companies talking about tokenizations, everyone talking about stable coins. You see so many applications for the technology and no one using it, basically. Like, there's a few blockchains that people use on a decent, normal basis. Most of it is all either completely speculative or still tied to speculation. And then the real used ones, whether it's, the ones that hopefully been doing well this last quarter, I would consider them more used for the purposes that you and I would consider more legitimate. But also the usage levels on the global scale are tiny, very tiny. And so, like, there's a lot of room for this to then grow and start actually being used. And I think that probably I think that the day of the casino is, I hesitate to say over, because it's definitely not over, but the casino days are kind of behind us a little bit at this point. I think that this was the peak casino cycle. You had presidents flipping meme coins all over the world. You had, pump fun, people in live streams, like, I don't know, doing crazy stuff for that.
The no hands guy, or this small kid. Do you know this one?
Oh yeah, I like the no hands guy the best. That was ridiculous. And someone actually was showing me, because he was demonstrating a Telegram bot he had, and he showed me the whole pump fund cycle, and he's like, all right, here, let's see, there's all these coins. This one's pumping right now because you see on the live stream, he's asleep on his couch and he can't sell the token because he's asleep. So people are buying right now. And I'm like, okay. And he says, oh, I'm going to go buy this one. So he's, I'm going to take this one, and I move it to the Telegram bot and I press this. Okay, I bought it. All right, and I go to sell it, and he goes, sell it. I already made 3.4%. I'm like, that was like 24 seconds. How did that happen? Just this crazy cycle. That is starting to come to an end. And I think that we're seeing, despite all this momentum and goodwill, I think it'll be very difficult to get governments to significantly buy Bitcoin. And I think that is where the bubble starts to, it starts to be over. It starts to come back to reality, where now you're like, all right, now we have to fight for market share again, like every good company. And you're starting to see the treasury companies, where every failing company was just like, we're a treasury company now. And now I almost think that strategy is the biggest, and I hate to say safest, but like one of the harder ones to make collapse of the treasury companies. And so I think that if strategy collapses, I don't think many other treasury companies will survive. I think that they will probably collapse first, and then institutions will be very risk averse, and they will be not wanting to enter the crypto spot for a very long time. And then it's back to the trenches. It's back to utility.
Yeah. Well, we have to see how it will work out. I'm sorry, I was inviting the next, but yeah, it could be. It could be because you in that way. I have never been a big favorite of Solana, not even because of the outage of a network or anything, but just the sheer fact that it was only these tokens and like you say, the pure casino style of crypto, and I've never been really into that. Although I must say, last year was also my casino year in a way, with the Bitcoin Cash tokens that I've been trading. But yeah, it's a fun thing to do, but it's not real utility. And so
yes, of course,
I love those things that you mentioned with Dash, where you can really build your network inside of the blockchain, where you can you, for example, also put your profession in your data set. So you say, I am a painter. If somebody needs to paint their house, you can search for everybody who's a painter in the Dash community.
This is where it gets really interesting. Is you could do a lot with it, and this has taken me a while to sort of understand fully, because a lot of the developers have just been like so focused on doing this and not really good at about talking about it. But basically, of everything we consider Web3 or the web or whatever, the most of it and the most important part of it, which I would say is like 80%, is data. As in, you write and store data, and then you access that data. And the part that gets all the attention because of Ethereum, etc., is the computation part of things, the smart contracts. Is that, you know, we get to run our own little computation here. It's so what Dash does better than anyone else today, as far as I'm aware, is the data, where you can write data to the network instantly, and you can query it. You can look it up without an indexer, and you don't need to run a node to trust that the data is accurate. So typically, when you have these decentralized data systems, you write on IPFS or whatever else, and then you need a separate service that indexes it and says, this is this data here, this is this data here. And then you need a node, which could be very expensive to run for some of these larger data networks, or you need to pay a company like Infura to do it for you. And then you need those to interact with the data, and you need to trust that they're returning the data that you asked for. You say, I want this picture of a clown wig. And then they're like, here you go. But then you just have to trust that they got it. Whereas with the Dash system, everything is in there. You go.
I still have it. I don't use it as much.
Yes. So with the Dash system, you don't have to trust a node or indexer. You connect directly to an API provided by the network itself. And when you call up a data, you get a proof that says that you got the data you asked for. And so basically what this means is you can run a website without like a backend server at all. It just dashes the backend server. So you just plug right into it, and you can write anything. And so one very interesting thing.
Sorry. Can I ask one question in between? Do I have to pay Dash for such a query? If I want to have this information, does it cost me some? Do I have to pay some? Or is it only a transaction fee, for example, or is there also a added fee for the one who provides you with the data?
As far as I'd have to reconfirm, as far as I understand, you don't need to pay for queries, but you do pay for writing the data. And of course, the data is also different from a lot of decentralized systems. While you do pay for it, it's partially refundable if you decide to delete it later. So let's just say you upload your podcast, and then later on you want to edit it to put clown wigs on everyone's head, and then you decide to re-upload it. You don't have to pay twice. You can just delete the old data, put your new data in, or if you just have your data here and at some point you don't want it anymore, you can delete it and you get like an 80% refund or whatever. Of course, the longer you store the data for, the less refund you get. Mm-hmm. So the whole system works pretty well. There's one of the core developers, when he was bored over the weekend or the holiday, and he started to code up a few tools. And one thing he did was basically an uncensorable Pirate Bay. It was a torrent metadata site, again, like a Pirate Bay or one of these other things, but instead all the data is hosted on the Dash network, where now it's immutable. And usually when there's something like a Pirate Bay that gets taken down, then all the data gets lost with it, or they have to share the data and have backup copies somewhere else, or mirrors on other sites and all this other stuff. Whereas in this case, it's just, you take down you just literally point a different domain to it and everything is still there. So now all the torrent data is indexed in there permanently, and you could just pay a small dash fee whenever you want to update it by adding a new torrent and all the the podcast name and everything else. And so just little things like that are going to become huge over time. You have so many, like a friend of mine, Doug Tooman, runs this site called XMR Bazaar, which is like a sort of like a Craigslist style site for people wanting to buy with Monero. And as far as I understand, that's still hosted on traditional like web rails. And it would be great to have that thing entirely built on Dash instead, where now it's all, not only is it uncensorable, but you don't need all these little pieces in between to make it work. It just works. And a good friend of mine, Chris Pastia, I don't know if you remember him. He's big Bitcoin Cash developer back in the day. He was the lead backend developer for Open Bazaar. Do you remember Open Bazaar back in the day? Yeah. And so I talked to also one of his coworkers on my podcast a long time ago when they ended up shutting it down, and they had a lot of issues where, of course, they could store all the data and the listings and stuff, but one of the biggest things was the search, where they had to provide the search themselves for items. They had to do the indexing themselves and pay to provide a centralized search function for this decentralized marketplace. And you could build Open Bazaar on Dash tomorrow, and you wouldn't need any of that. You would just work, and you wouldn't need expensive infrastructure running everything. You could just point a URL to the series of data contracts that are written, and it would just work. And so there's a lot of this kind of stuff that still isn't fully realized yet. And over the weekend, we've been sort of debugging some of the SDKs, because the SDKs to build a lot of this stuff are out there, but then we found couple small bugs, and now, okay, we got to fix that. But it's like we're right in the end stretch of when we can start to have some serious like hackathons and other cool things on this.
Nice, man. It's exciting. It's exciting. Yeah, I also mentioned this to Amaury. The world catches up slowly to reality, and recently we had a breakout in the precious metals, and I really think that things like, because the things that you are telling me today, Joel, they are I am connected with a group of developers that combine themselves under the name of Community Coins. They have released a new project called Ring of Trust, which is basically the data chain of Dash, but it's not decentralized. It's one person running that for his small group of community,
Of course.
So I understand what this data chain can do to the world. It's just that most of the people, the general population, the big mass of people is not willing to educate themselves yet. And that's why we don't get distraction, regardless of how amazing our product is going to be. The most people are simply not looking for them. And that's why I'm so bullish for 2026, because I think when these metals change the general understanding of the masses about money, that is the moment when they will be ready to learn something, and that is the moment when we have to be ready to educate them. So I think that is what 2026 has in store for us a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And part of that is the technology. So here's the one reality. We need to keep building and progressing the technology. Technology is still very new. It's very different from the way the world used to work. We need to keep building. At the same time, crypto became successful far before it needed to, before it deserved to. And so you had a lot of money being thrown at projects that did not deserve it. And it's still the case today. The problem is when you are paid to be wrong, you will never be right. And so if you're paid to have a service that works kind of, but has a bunch of bugs and doesn't really scale and all this kind of stuff, if you're being rewarded for that, you're never going to improve it. And so I think that there's been a little bit of an atrophy in some parts of crypto's development because of that, because people have been paid to just, oh, look, it's great. Look at this. It says all these cool things on paper. I have like a 50 million TPS that I can claim, even though it doesn't really work. And there's one validator that runs everything or something. No one cares. So everything has been, I think that we're finally getting into the usage era where the end user will tell us if the tech works or not. And they're telling us it doesn't because they don't use it. But I think that once the tech is usable enough, that once it actually works, once it delivers the promises it makes, then people will easily take a decentralized option. So, like, for example, backups of private keys, I think, are some of the most intimidating thing for new users because they don't understand how it works. And then you're trusting them to write down a seed phrase somewhere where they won't lose it. And then that's it. If they lose it, they're gone. And so I think that there are plenty of backup systems that exist today that are good enough, in my opinion, for mass adoption, but they're very siloed and isolated. And so, for example, there's a lot of wallets that have those NFC cards, those tap cards. And for example, the Tangent wallet uses those cards instead of backups. They don't have any private keys other than those cards. And so everyone can understand, oh, I have this card, I tap it with my password and it works. And if I lose my card, I get another one that I've hidden somewhere in my my house. And I tap that one and that works. And if I forget my password, I get two cards. I tap them and it works. People can understand that. But again, that's just one company. Then OneKey, I believe, has a backup card where instead of writing down a seed phrase, it's just on a card. And if you just tap it to the wallet, it re-inputs your seed phrase and you're good. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But again, it only works with their wallets. It's not a wide standard. And then there's another app called Voltisig where you load your keys onto, let's say, 3 separate devices like your phone, your tablet, and your computer. And anytime you want to send a transaction, you need to sign 2 of 3 of those signatures. It's sort of like a multi-sig, but it's a aggregated threshold signature. And so if you lose your phone, you can just get another phone and then sign with your other 2 devices to re-add that phone or add another device. You don't have to completely redo the setup. And that works really well, especially if your computer gets hacked and someone tries to steal all your money from your browser extension wallet. Then it asks you on your phone and your tablet, and the odds of them compromising all 3 of them are much lower. And you can also have like 5 of them, like add your accountant to someone or whatever. But again, that's one tiny ecosystem. All these things need to become like standardized. And then I think that a user, because listen, I haven't had a bank account in a very long time, but from my understanding, you do have your login credentials, right? Your username, password to get in. If you forget those, you have your physical backup, which is your ID card and your face. And you go in and say, hi, I want to reset my thing. And if you don't have your ID card, it's a big problem. But you still have like a backup of last resort where you can go get a new government document of some kind, like a birth certificate. I don't know how it works in every country. I think in the US you can go with, for example, like your parents, and they can sign like a written thing saying, this is my child, just give the birth certificate kind of thing. And so that would be like a family backup of last resort, where there's some, like, if you have like 5 of you give your backup keys to like 5 people, and 3 of them have to come together with a password only you know, and then you get everything back. It's the very same thing. Like, there's self-custody issues with fiat as well. If you have cash in your pocket, you lose it, it's gone. So I think that once we just get this simple, people will start to use this. And another part of that, of course, is with all the online stuff, all the Web3 stuff, like Ethereum, there's a lot of security issues with the way Ethereum smart contracts are designed. And I don't know a ton about this area, but I do know that tokens, for example, are smart contracts. So you have a programmatic contract.
Yeah.
Yes. And so if you want to just send a token to someone, you have to sign a smart contract. You have
Approval.
to sign an approval, and then the approval can then be used to just take all your money. Whereas, for example, there's tokens on the Dash system as well, and those are not smart contracts tokens. Those are basic data contract tokens that just prescribe the details of who can do what and how this works. And you just sign send. It's what they call a native token. And in a lot of newer blockchains, like let's say Multiverse X and I think Sui and stuff like that, they have native tokens. They have them outside of the smart contract space, so it's less vulnerable. So there's just so many of these things that, like, I think that once we get rid of a lot of these, I clicked the wrong MetaMask link and I got wrecked. Once we get rid of that or make that better, and once we make self-custody easier and more universal, then I think that the floodgates are open. Everyone will come into crypto.
So that is, I guess, your goal for 2026 to achieve.
Yes, that's a big part of it. The other thing is just to start decentralizing the web. Like, I want to have my website built on with the Dash network on the back end. I want everyone else's website. I want to post on social media sites that do this. I want to back up everything. And so, like, I do still have a few spreadsheets here and there for accounting purposes. I still do have, I have some things on, I wouldn't say like centralized infrastructure, but so, for example, like a password manager, right? There's a bunch of different ways of doing a password manager. You could trust a company to do it, even if it's, like decentralized, or even if it's end-to-end encrypted and they can't get your passwords. Or you can self-host your own password manager file on your computer, but then you need to share it across your other. It becomes annoying. We love a Dash password manager where it's just on the network and it just works. So there's so many things. I basically decentralize all the things. That's my my goal.
Sounds good, Joel. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by the way, you can add your name. I'm talking to the listeners now. You can add your name on the wheel. And you,
we're going to give away $10 of Dash, I assume. It's up to Joel to decide which coin it's going to be, but...
sure, why not? That's as
$10
good a one as any, right?
$10 of Dash on the wheel.
You need to have a Dash wallet, because if you win, you need to send me your Dash address. Yeah.
Yes.
So
that's coming up. I can see also Gerrit already joined the chat. Is he already visible, or you didn't show it yet, Joel?
He's visible.
Okay. Yeah. Gerrit is our next guest. Welcome, Gerrit.
Mm-hmm. I have also a question to Joel. What about the privacy on Dash? Because you're talking about your identity on Dash, but the tax office is also watching.
Yes. So this could spark another hour conversation. But let's do the speed.
It's up to you, Joel. It's up to you.
Well, so first of all the data that is written in terms of anything sensitive can be encrypted. So for example, when I write, this was for IKEA furniture, that's encrypted and no one can see on the blockchain what it says. So there's plenty of, like, all that stuff is encrypted. At some point there will be, I know that the developers are looking into some advanced privacy functions for the data chain to make things extremely private. That's hopefully would happen this year. Let's see. But for the payments chain, there's a current privacy overhaul going on for Dash that would add something called confidential transactions to the base Dash network, which encrypts amounts and balances, but you can still see who you sent to, or you can still see where a payment went, just not how much or, what the total balance was. And what that allows you to do is, combined with Dash's current privacy function, it would basically allow for, I would say, privacy comparable to or better than present day Monero, for example. And so we're working on that. And of course, Monero is going through their own overhaul beyond that, called full chain membership proofs. It's actually pretty exciting. It's a side project that I've sort of taken on because the developers are doing so many different things, decentralizing the web, doing all this stuff. And so I managed to get a nonprofit to donate to fund this development. And so, yeah, I'm running that on the side. And so hopefully that's going to be middle of the year or so. Hopefully we get that overhaul out as well. And it's one of those things where I kind of feel like right now in this year, about most of the world has woken up to the fact that privacy is essential. And some of the world, unfortunately...
Crypto world. Let's say crypto world.
Well, even beyond that, you're starting to see privacy messaging, privacy apps, and things like that become very popular. But so beyond that, I mean, there are some jurisdictions, such Europe, unfortunately, that just does not like privacy.
EU, not Europe, EU.
Yes.
I live in Europe, but not in the EU.
The EU part of Europe, I should say. Which unfortunately is too much of it, but you know we should do something about that. But again, that's not my business. But so basically, at this point, I kind of feel like a lot of people in the past with Dash have been like trying to walk this line of like trying to keep privacy there and important and usable, but also trying not to scare off regulators and things like that. And I think that now it's kind of the time that time is over. It's time to just do what you want. Yeah. Just do the best thing you can do for your users, for the world, and then deal with which markets you can operate in, which you can't, and then decentralize everything. Like use decentralized exchanges, do peer-to-peer transactions. Like it might be underground in some regions, it might be above ground in others. Just that's the way the world is. We should just provide the best tech for the most freedom possible.
Yeah. That's a great outlook. I cannot agree more.
With this knowledge, we shall spin the wheel.
We shall spin the wheel. Yeah, Gerrit is already here, so I would like to start introducing him. You don't have to leave, Joel. You can stay if you want, but I understand your day is just starting and maybe you have different plans, but this is mostly a gathering of friends to recap the old year, have an outlook for the new year. Of course, that's the beauty of Bitcoin, that's the beauty of the blockchain and the Genesis block having its anniversary on the 3rd of January. Then we always have this New Year vibe a little bit. So it's just, like I say, a get together to give a small update about everything, stuff like that. So. But let's do a wheel spin. How many people are on the wheel?
A lot.
A lot? Well, I will tell you something. I will also be on the wheel. Okay. And in case my name is being spun, then I'm going to double the price to $20 Dash.
Okay, and then spin again.
But you have to spin again. That's true. But
okay, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. Good luck to all the participants.
Yeah. It's spinning. And it's going to be... De rode. Dat kon ik net niet goed zien. Het rode vak.
I think it's Dash News Italia, if I got it correct. But we will double check it in the replayer.
Yeah. There is a Dash Italia.
Yeah, I know that guy. He's a good guy, but also he's relentless. He's everywhere. So
well, I'm glad we paid him a $10 Dash. Now we are on his good page. I
Probably not working.
Dash News Italia. Please send a message with your Dash address either to King Hong Spiracy on Twitch in a whisper, or to what is your Freedom Radio? Vrijheidradio is
you're paying it, so you can better.
I'm paying it, so it's best to if you could send me a whisper on Twitch. That would be best. Otherwise, we have to work it out.
We'll ask Joel. You know the guy.
I don't know if Dash News Italia is familiar with Twitch, but if you click on the username King Hong Spiracy, it will tell you to send a whisper somewhere, I guess. Whisper, because the problem is I cannot send a whisper myself because of my telephone number, blah blah blah, which is a little bit broken for me. But please send me a message, and then I'll make sure. Oh, I have. No, I'll make sure that Dash come to you. Don't worry. We will fix it somehow. Sure. We will. Yeah, we will fix it. I can also send it to Joel, and then he sends it to you if he knows you. Then maybe that's the better option. But
yes, you know what's funny?
Congratulations.
Do you have an Android wallet, an Android phone?
Yeah, I do, but it's not. It has an empty battery.
Okay. Well, what you could do is, if you wanted to get the Dash Pay wallet and get your own username, probably not during the stream when it's over, maybe. It's the username is. Let me see. Let me look for who their username was. I have to look on my phone which one it was, so we don't get to the wrong one. But there is a Dash Italia username.
Yeah. Well, he wrote his address in the chat, so I have sent the Dash to that address.
Well, there you go. You already got it.
He got it. We fixed it. Joel, is there something you would like to share in this final couple minutes?
Yes. So basically, the world is we're hitting some really good momentum. We're going to hit early mass adoption for cryptocurrencies in the next few years, and the time is now to build as fast as we can for the good stuff, to make sure that the decentralized good stuff, private stuff, wins out. And so it is already possible for between all the, I've been very aggressive with onboarding different services around the world to accept Dash specifically. And as far as my math is correct, somewhere close to 3 billion people could conceivably pay at least some of their bills with Dash at this time because of all the coverage we have in bill pay solutions and other things like that. So a lot of people can start using Dash all over the world today. And we're continuing to expand, where a couple of really cool things I'm working on for this year are, number one, a way for everyone, or lots of people, again, it's never everyone, but lots of people to be able to receive their full salary in Dash if they want to, where they don't have to change jobs or anything. They should be able to just do that. That would be one. So then you can start having a complete income, complete circular economy. And then the second one is I'm working on a Dash to anything to Dash feature, where if you just have a Dash wallet and someone says, hey, can I send you some Bitcoin? Sure. And you receive Bitcoin in, and it turns into Dash. And you can also spend from your Dash wallet to, if someone only accepts Litecoin or something. Or let's just say that, all the payment processors in Europe don't do anything with privacy. And it's like, all right, well, then I could still use Dash every day because I just scan the QR code, send, within seconds, it's going out as whatever asset they really want it to. And so all of that together, it's just like the Infinity Stones, you get the last Infinity Stone and then world domination. So that's what I'm working on.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to see all of that development. In case you don't follow Joel on X, the desert links with Y and X on the end.
It's also my Dash username if you want to add
also
me.
Dash username. Yeah. Follow him because he has some great content. It helps me understand a lot of the technical stuff that I am too lazy to dig into myself. He has, like I said, great content. So I really recommend everybody to start following Joel. Thanks for being here with us today, Joel. Feel free to stay a little bit longer if you want. That's always possible. But I think this is time to introduce Gerrit Oerlemans and have a little community coins gathering. And so, I guess that's what I want to say.
I'll probably leave now because I have a few things to do before leaving the house. But it's been a very good pleasure. I'm How many years in a row has this been? This has been a few, right?
This is like the fourth or fifth consecutive year.
Fifth or sixth, maybe.
Yes.
Fifth or sixth.
Yes. I'm not going to stop coming. I'm going to keep coming to these things. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention, because there's so many things, is we still don't. I'm not 100% sure about the date. It sounds like it'll probably be in September, but we're holding a Dash conference, the first since 2019, and it's going to be in Amsterdam. So that will be very nice. I'm organizing that along with, I don't know if you know the Crypto Canal people. They're very good people, very freedom-loving cypherpunk people, and so we're partnering with them to create a Dash conference right next to their one during something called Cypherpunk Week. So I don't know if anyone likes to come to events, but it's going to be.
Unfortunately, I am unable to travel at the moment because my passport expired, and this is a conscious decision, but that is how it is for me at the moment. Maybe by that time I have solved it, but we could always do a stream where I give away a ticket to one of the viewers, for example. So by the time that tickets are going to be for sale, I'm not sure what the price is going to be, but I might just do a little raffle with a ticket or make some.
For this conference, you can pay in Dash.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of those Bitcoin core conferences, you can only pay with credit card, you know.
You know what? And I have to say, so obviously we will allow that. I have to say, it's harder than you think for some of these things because the conference, like the ticket providers, the EU payment processors, all that are just it's a pain in the ass for some of this stuff. So it's obviously not negotiable. Of course, you're going to be able to do that. It might be. Click this other link.
I think you have to organize it yourself because I do for the Libertarian Party. I'm not organizing anymore, but when I did locally for the Libertarian Party in Utrecht, you just rent a hotel room and you just do everything yourself.
Yes, this is a Dash conference. This is not a hotel room.
Well, yes, and
conference hall.
Well, hopefully, here's a couple of goals that we're doing here. First of all, we'd like there to be like 100 to 200 people or something, like a decent crowd of people. And also, we want to have it completely self-funded, as in not have to have the Treasury pay for it. And I think that the last Dash conference was partially Treasury funded, but mostly it's kind of half and half. It was progress in the right direction. I kind of like, obviously, one of Dash's superpowers is having this built-in Treasury model to pay for things like development. But at the same time, I do think that you can't have that pay for everything, I don't think. I think you want to have a healthy business ecosystem and volunteer ecosystem, all this kind of stuff. And so that's my goal. Just like this whole privacy development thing, that the Treasury is paying for none of it. And this conference, I'd like the Treasury to pay for none of it. And the more things I can build that are outside of that, the more cool things that the Treasury can then fund for other development. And then we kind of go from there. And it's been very impressive how the Bitcoin Cash and Monero communities have both managed to sustain some pretty good development despite, no internal funding, no VC, just through crowdfunding donations. And a lot of time. And so myself, I did donate to Monero full chain membership proof development because they were kind of asking about, hey, not enough people are donating. I'm like, I'll donate. This helps the whole space, right? This is a lot of the world is going in the direction of Zcash's privacy model. And I kind of think that we need to have an alternative as well. We can't just everyone focus on one tech stack. So I like both out there. I think it'll make a lot of good projects a lot more private. And so I donate to projects in the Dash ecosystem as well, but also outside of the Dash ecosystem. So we're all going to make, we're all going to make it. Everything's going to turn out all right.
I think that's the right mindset. We are one big family in that way with all of crypto, and we need to support each other in this still early days, and also later, of course. But we are, in some way family, and you should keep the family close, So, Joel, thanks again. All the best for the new year. Stay healthy, and I wish you all the best, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks a bunch for having me. I'll be around, but at least I'll see you next year.
Great. You can expect my comments on your posts.
Of course.
Bye, Joel.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.
All right. That was Joel Valenzuela.